This winter on Astarte Farm in Hadley, Massachusetts, we are taking a long, slow inward breath, and for a change we have no new construction projects on the table. This is the time of year on the farm when life moves underground. We know this is happening in the garlic patch as the garlic clove roots stretch deeply into the soil beneath their thick blanket of straw. There is indeed a feeling of downward forces as the sugar maple sap descends into the roots of the trees where it will sweeten over the long winter nights. You can sense this downward movement of the farm's energy in the macro activity of our visible soil life. Earthworms are moving ever deeper into the soil profiles, and down there they will produce their worm egg capsules, flush with embryos and probiotic bacteria that will become future earth-moving generations. In our protected high tunnels, the seasonal changes are slowed and modified by the semi-controlled climate within them. The above-ground growth continues at a much slower pace, but the root growth almost accelerates as the plants seek their required moisture now that the irrigation has been shut off. Thanks to our high organic matter content, in even the driest surface soil layers, there is enough moisture to germinate any viable seed from the pollinator plants that are gradually giving up the ghost. Those volunteers get a substantial head start on all of the vegetable transplants to come, and we have an increasing amount of interest in creating diverse plant communities inside these structures. The value of the different root types and structures which support our chain of fungal activity may never be fully understood or quantified by reductionist study, but the vibrancy of the plant growth evident in these structures as we approach the longest night of the winter is obvious. Outside in Field 2, the downward forces are visible again in the daikon winter rye cover crop cocktail that Ellen came up with. The above-ground leaves of the daikon are surrendering their store of nutrients down into their sturdy taproots that penetrate our upper soil profiles. It is a natural plant defense mechanism against the increasingly cold temperatures, so that if any daikon roots should survive winter's onslaught, enough energy will remain stored underground for regrowth, flower, and seed production. While we do not expect that to happen here, those descending nutrients will remain locked in place until the warming ground in springtime can release them for next season's crops. The kale plants just beyond the beetle bank in Field 2 seem to defy the weather. These plants are from our spring planting and are still producing delicious leaves. Eventually the leaf size will diminish, but the sweetness of frost-kissed kale is legendary in these parts. Their present flavor will only be surpassed by the sweet flower shoots that arise in early springtime, once again the product of plant roots held tight in our frosty soil. Taking advantage of the frozen farm road which had almost become impassable in all the fall rain, here's a quick ride down the field past a swath of green winter rye and one block of, heaven forbid, bare soil that will likely get covered with the silage tarp next to it in early spring. After the asparagus fronds died back, they were flail-mown, and we are now discussing whether to mulch it with the big round straw bales again. We are just starting to get a handle on the weeds down here, and it may well be worth the cost of the straw in order to maintain the long life expectancy of this crop. The fall plantings of kale and spinach have produced well for us down here, and with any luck, the spinach will rebound next year as soon as the ground starts to thaw. Since it is a relatively shallow-rooted plant, that regrowth can happen surprisingly early in the spring, and once again that sweetness stored in their roots will produce a fresh reprieve from our winter-stretched diets. And so we enter our season of patience, planning, and preparation. The farm life strengthens within the soil even as the weather inhibits our above-ground activity. We are a little like the solitary queen bumblebee, dormant in her earthen lair, but harboring enough eggs for an entire bumblebee colony. Our season of intense activity fast approaches, but for now we can rest and draw in another healing breath. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Catch you next time.